Shut the up. I don't give a dude. Look at this. Look at this. He's fighting a professional boxer.
So Jake Paul was terminated by Joe Rogan after he did the unthinkable. The UFC commentator just spilled the beans and unleashed a verbal smackdown on Jake Paul in a brand new episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. And with the highly anticipated Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight just around the corner, you know the boxing world is buzzing like never before. Every pro out there is stepping up to share their 2 cents on this bout, but leave it to Joe to take things to the next level. He didn't just comment, he tore into the YouTuber turned boxer with the kind of intensity that only Rogan can bring. Let's break it down. To kick things off, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson just had an epic press conference in New York City to launch the hype train for their upcoming bout on November 15, 2024 at the AT&T Arena. And let me tell you, the buzz around this fight is off the charts. The hype is more intense than ever, and tickets are selling like hotcakes, thanks to all the trash talk and Jake Paul's dirty tactics. But here's the thing, if there's one moment that left fans with a bad taste in their mouths, it was Jake's straight-up disrespect toward Tyson. Yeah, you heard that right. Jake Paul, in all his brashness, decided to take a cheap shot at one of the greatest boxers of all time, and it did not go over well.
Yeah, you had to go on your little menopause break and postpone the fight, so yeah. What about that, dog? I was ready before. You needed a little break. Your tummy hurt?
Fans immediately took to social media to express their outrage, calling Jake out for crossing the line. But it wasn't just the fans who were fuming. Joe Rogan was too. In classic Rogan fashion, he went in hard, absolutely terminating Jake Paul over his disrespectful comments. Joe made it clear that Mike Tyson is not just a legendary fighter, but a cultural icon who has earned his place in history through sheer grit and determination. And if there's one thing Rogan won't stand for, it's a young fighter trying to make a name for himself by belittling a legend. In this latest episode, Rogan didn't hold back at all. He's seen it all in the fight world, and he knows exactly what's at stake. With Jake's recent antics and his looming clash with one of the greatest of all time, Mike Tyson, Joe made it clear that this isn't just another fight, it's a defining moment for Jake Paul. Rogan laid it out in brutal detail, questioning whether Jake has the discipline, respect, and most importantly, the heart to step into the ring with a legend like Tyson. It's clear that in Joe's eyes, this fight is more than just entertainment, it's a test of Jake's legitimacy as a boxer. And if Joe's words are anything to go by, Jake's got a lot more to prove than he might think.
Larry Holmes, I think that Mike Tyson is the best heavyweight of all time. I don't think anybody fucks with him.
Throughout the entire press conference, Jake was clearly getting ahead of himself, blabbering about whatever came to mind without giving it a second thought. Sure, trash talk is a big part of hyping up fights, everyone knows that. But when you've got a legend like Mike Tyson sitting across from you, there's a line you just don't cross. And Jake? He bulldozed right over it. The problem child treated Mike like just another one of his influencer opponents, completely ignoring the fact that he was facing one of the most feared and respected fighters in boxing history. It was almost as if Jake forgot who he was dealing with, thinking he could get away with the same antics he's pulled on other social media stars. But here's the thing, Mike Tyson isn't just any opponent. He's a living legend. And the kind of trash talk Jake was spewing came off as not only disrespectful, but downright reckless. It wasn't just about building up hype. It felt like Jake was trying to diminish Tyson's legacy, and that's something that didn't sit well with fans, or with Joe Rogan for that matter. When you're up against a fighter like Mike, there's gotta be some level of respect, even in the heat of the moment. But Jake had none, and that's where he seriously messed up. Now the problem child is making big talk and big claims, but let's be real, deep down, he's absolutely terrified of Iron Mike. It's a classic tactic, trying to get inside his opponent's head with all this bravado. But the fight world is seeing right through Jake's facade. From day one, he's been acting like he's got this entire fight under control, like he's already won. But if you really pay attention, you can see the sheer terror in his eyes and his desperate attempts to hide it behind all that tough talk. Jake knows that stepping into the ring with Mike Tyson is a whole different ballgame. This isn't some YouTuber or influencer he's facing. This is a man who has been a force of nature in the boxing world for decades. And that's got to be terrifying for someone like Jake, who's still trying to prove himself as a legitimate fighter. Yeah, let's rewind a bit. Remember back in March when the internet imploded with the news of this epic showdown? A YouTuber turned boxer going toe-to-toe with the legendary Iron Mike Tyson, all set for July 20th, 2024? It was like someone ripped a page out of a fever dream where or a nightmare. But hey, talk about a clash of generations. Yeah, it came as a big shocker because no one and their grandmas ever imagined Paul in the same ring as the boxing legend, but it was true. This whole thing was huge. We, Gen Z, were hyped. The old heads were skeptical. But one thing's for sure, everyone was talking about it. The potential for knockouts, the massive payday. This fight was gonna be bananas. The excitement was through the roof and bam, news breaks that Tyson has a medical emergency. The fight was off. Now some folks were genuinely concerned about Mike's health. But let's be real, the timing was a little sus, right? The internet was going wild with speculation. Was this a legitimate medical issue? Or did the problem child get cold feet? Did Jake Paul's team somehow orchestrate this whole thing? If you want to take Joe's word for it, it was all Paul. Yep, the UFC commentator is exposing the boxer. Now Jake isn't one to stay silent, and he fired back. The YouTuber turned boxer was throwing Mike's health under the bus for the cancellation of the bout. He said he didn't want to risk it and didn't want to force Mike into stepping into the ring with him if his health wasn't allowing it. The boxer claims he's giving the legend more time to prepare by pulling the plug on the fight. Big words, Jakey. Whether it's due to genetics, sheer dedication, or the potential benefits of modern medicine, there's no denying it. Mike Tyson still looks like a force to be reckoned with, and of course, it has Jake trembling in his boots. The big talk is just a smokescreen, a way to mask his fear and try to convince himself that he's ready for what's coming. But the fight world isn't buying it. They can see right through the act, and they know that underneath all that bravado, Jake is more scared than he's ever been. The fight is officially on for November, and here's the kicker. Mike Tyson's health is better than ever. There's no way Jake Paul can escape this showdown now, so he's doing everything he can to save face. Word on the street is that Jake's already going around saying he'll retire if he loses to Tyson, hanging up his gloves for good. But let's be honest here. This fight is a lose-lose situation for Jake no matter how you slice it. If Jake somehow manages to pull off a win, what does it really mean? He would have beaten a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, someone who's been out of the prime fighting game for years. Sure, there would be some buzz, but not the kind Jake is probably hoping for. People will say he only managed to beat a washed-up legend, and that kind of victory doesn't hold the same weight as beating someone in their prime. The narrative would quickly shift from Jake Paul defeated Mike Tyson to Jake Paul beat a 58-year-old who's well past his fighting days. It wouldn't be the crowning achievement Jake might imagine. It'd be more like a hollow victory that the fight world would quickly move past. On the flip side, if Jake loses, and let's face it, that's a very real possibility, he's in for some major humiliation. Losing to a man pushing 60, no matter how legendary, would be a huge blow to his career. People would never let him live it down. The memes, the headlines, the social media fallout, it would all be brutal. Jake's entire persona is built around being the young, brash up-and-comer who can take on anyone, and a loss to Tyson would shatter that image. So what's Jake really getting out of this fight? Well, one thing's for sure, a whole ton of cash and some time in the spotlight. But at what cost? His credibility as a fighter is on the line, and no amount of money can buy back respect once it's lost. As the fight date looms closer, everyone's talking about it, and it's the hottest topic on everyone's tongues. From boxing experts to casual fans, people can't stop speculating about how this showdown is going to play out. Will Jake finally meet his match in Iron Mike, or will he somehow pull off a win and add Tyson to his list of victories? One thing's for sure, though. Whatever happens, this fight is going to be one for the history books. Whether it's a career-defining moment for Jake or the start of his downfall, the world will be watching. Jake still has a long way to go when it comes to solidifying his status as a legit boxer, but his recent actions are doing the exact opposite. Instead of earning the respect he desperately craves from the boxing world, Jake's out here making moves that only further alienate him from the sport's true insiders. Let's be real. The boxing community doesn't respect Jake as it is. His fights against other influencers and MMA fighters haven't convinced anyone that he's a serious contender. But now, by disrespecting a legend like Mike Tyson, Jake is digging himself into an even deeper hole. This latest stunt isn't just making people dislike him, it's making them downright furious. And it's not just fans who are fed up, it's the experts too. Jake's disrespect has fired up people like Joe Rogan, who isn't afraid to call him out for his antics. Rogan, a guy who knows the sport inside and out, has made it clear that Jake's behavior is unacceptable and only further proves that he's not ready to be taken seriously in the boxing world. Jake's actions are doing more harm than good, and if he keeps this up, he might find himself completely shut out of the sport he's trying so hard to break into. I guess we'll have to wait and see how everything plays out. So, there you go, Fight World, that's all I have for you today. What are your thoughts on Jake Paul getting terminated by Joe Rogan? Fill in the comment section with your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more boxing news. See you in the next video.